Oh, goodness. Goodness gracious
Leave
me.
me in the outtakes. I really like outtakes.
I could do so many. There have been so many outtakes.
Blooper.
Yeah. Yeah. But it removes the energy. It's so formal. Welcome to the Ericzone podcast.
I can make funny faces while you do it.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. All right. Welcome to the Ericzone podcast today. Erin Farmer-Perrine. She's an actor, writer, and director. And you're also part of your production company. Maybe we could start with that. You want to present your...
Our production company is called Quagmire Productions, and I'm the co-producer with my partner, Ericzone. We did our first production in February 2020. It was my one-woman show, How to Kill Your Baby 101, which is a story of a young mother and her horrific journey through postpartum depression and perinatal mood disorders. So it's a bit quirky, but it's also pretty real. And it featured at a horror theater festival in Montreal called Festival de la Bête Noire. It's been running 3 years now, and at the Mainline Theater. Our second production we did during the pandemic, during the major strict lockdown in the month of December and January. We produced a collection of poems and stories by Edgar Allan Poe entitled Poe in the Snow. So that was Eryczone's idea to have outdoor theater, which we didn't end up actually performing it outside, but a lot of it was filmed in the snow. So
Yeah, I remember there was one of the actors was outside.
actually, there were quite a few. There was...
Oh, but I mean you in your production specifically.
In my production,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, I was out in the snow.
Mm.
No, I wasn't in the snow. It was my son throwing snowballs. Why are we talking about that?
Yeah, but we were debating the percentage of
Oh.
scenes being shot in the snow.
Oh,
or
when we
inside.
were talking about, yes, when you and I were working on the Raven version of the Raven.
No, just then. No, but I mean, because you said it was filmed. Oh, you were talking about the whole thing there. Sorry, I won't use this, but I mean.
Yeah, the Poe in the Snow was supposed to be an outdoor theater production. I thought you were thinking about the topless actress out in the snow.
That would have been great. But I mean, the documentary idea that we had.
That would have been great for the actor, right?
That's I wrote you or I messaged you or something, and I said, I have an idea for a scene for the documentary.
Yeah, I know you told me you had an idea, but you didn't tell me what it was.
The documentary about nothing. That was my idea. Was to have like a
topless someone.
Yeah, but also a man with no pants.
Ah,
and then would be running down like a small hill.
Yeah.
Screaming.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right in the middle of like the documentary.
I see.
When people are just starting to wonder what the hell this is about, and just to reassure them, it would be that shot, that scene, like 15 seconds.
A pantless man running down a hill, screaming.
And a woman with no shirt on running behind him screaming. See, I'd like to be able to do this because we need to be normal and promote our like decency and promote like how we're like just like normal people, and we have. It's not crazy enough, you know. I want crazy.
Be crazy.
But we can't because we needed to set the premise of our conversations. But when people get accustomed or acquainted to discussions, then the next one... Is this going to
be the Eric and Erin show?
Why, it could be, but I mean, the next podcast might...
They'll get to know us and they'll be like, oh, what's the latest on Eric and Erin's show?
It's like walking on eggshells. I want to be myself. I'm not myself.
But you're a chicken, and it's really hard to walk on eggshells when you're a chicken.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm being careful. Marketing-wise, I can't just be myself. We can never be ourselves. We're never ourselves. We're in front of the camera. There's a media. There's a microphone.
Are we ever ourselves, though?
No,
like,
we're
really,
not.
Ever?
Well, when we're by ourselves, but there always needs
Even
to be
when
someone.
I'm by myself.
Oh, yeah. No, that's true because I never
I
sing
sometimes
on
think I
my
have an
own.
audience.
Like I'm alone in this place and I'm playing guitar and I'm careful because I don't want people to hear. There's no one here. I could just scream. I could just play guitar
Really?
yeah. It's weird.
Really?
Yeah. It's strange. I'm like sometimes I have
What
to
do you
remind
mean?
myself.
You're afraid people will hear?
Yeah,
They'll hear what?
I've always been conditioned to be careful because I don't want the neighbors to hear or I don't know what.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really strange. Like I'm careful that way.
Oh, see, I am so the opposite.
Yeah.
So I just have to tell you a story about this.
Okay.
So I grew up in the country, but when I was 15, my parents bought a house in the city and they moved into this like subdivision. Okay. And we were like sticking out like a sore thumb. Like we were country bumpkins in the middle of the city, really. And, my parents would go away for a weekend and my brother would have huge parties that would like, music blasting until 3 a.m. and the neighbors would complain and stuff. But anyway, I had this thing where we had this great big window in the front of the house. And when it was dark outside, but it was light inside, it was a perfect mirror. And I would put on my music and I would dance in front of this. And little did I know that my neighbor across the street, who also went to the same high school, would be driving up after his being at the bar or something like that with his friends, and they would like sit outside and watch me dancing. I was so embarrassed. Anyway, after the fact, I found out that the one guy, his friend, was like, oh, she seems really cool. And the other guy was like, yeah, no, she's snobby and whatever. Anyway, he and I ended up being best friends. But it was just funny that like his first impression of me was me dancing in my front window. Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What's that poem, dance like nobody's watching? Sing
I don't know.
like nobody can hear? I don't know.
I'm a maniac on the floor, dancing like I've never danced before. The other one?
No.
That's a great poem.
Have to show you what I've been doing on OBS. I know you were like, oh, don't want to do the OBS thing, but you should see some of the really cool stuff I'm doing.
I'm still hesitant to go into the OBS because it's...
Well, I want to show you.
Well, we can't watch it now.
Well, I could just show you. Just like the littlest, tiniest bit.
But are people going to see it?
I don't know.
Well, obviously it's conducive to the conversation, but is it like something that you won't necessarily have to
No, I can just
present right
show
now?
it to Eric after the podcast. Well, I could talk about
And
it.
plus, I wouldn't even be able to show it because then I would be showing your channel content and then YouTube would flag me and they would say...
It's not on my
can't.
YouTube. It's on OBS. It's on my computer.
Oh.
But it's okay. It's okay. Because
But you are
actually, I'm in the middle of the build and it's not finished and it is going to be in a show.
Oh, it's on a USB key?
Oh, shoot. And I don't even know the dates. I mean, I do know the dates.
Okay.
But I don't know all the information about the Fringe. But
Oh,
anyway.
It's at the Fringe?
It's
Festival in
at
Montreal?
the Women's Theatre Festival Fringe.
Oh, okay.
Yes, which is a theater company based out of North Carolina that I don't know how I came across them, but last year when the pandemic, I was looking online for virtual theater and they just popped up in my feed.
And you wrote them and they answered back? and then-
Yeah, I saw that they were advertising for a panel with people who were doing virtual theater, and I signed up for the panel. I mean, not to speak on the panel, just to listen. And I really liked what they were talking about. And then they had this thing called Occupy the Stage, which until last year was in person, live. But this last year they did it for the first time online. And they had, I think, God, what did they have? Over 400 female and femme-identifying playwrights submit their work to the festival. And they chose 40 plays, and they did 40 plays in 48 hours. I mean, there were
live?
scenes. They were small.
Okay.
It wasn't like a full-length play. But so basically, they called for submissions. Playwrights could submit their work. And then the festival itself provided the production, basically. So they provided the director, the actors, all the tech. So it was a great opportunity for playwrights to.
That was streaming. That was streaming.
They did streaming, yeah, and I acted in one of them. It was my first virtual performance.
But how does that work? You're all plugged in with Zoom, and then you send your feed of your scene of what you're. Oh, I saw that actually.
Did you?
Was that the one with the scenes that were like every person had his own time? You were sitting at a sofa. Was that the one?
Yeah, well, I was sitting in a chair. I was knitting as well.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Drinking tea, talking to my dead husband.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was Occupy the Stage, and they had all kinds of plays. And mine was broadcast at midnight, which was, it was a bit crazy. So I had to make sure my kids were in bed and not making any noise. And, I had to rearrange my living room so that it looked like the set that, I was in. And it was fun. And at that point, I didn't have anything technical. Like I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have, all I had was my laptop. And I think I took like a stand-up lamp and placed it down, laid it across the couch so that it would, I don't know, kind of put light towards me. It was, that's the thing about the virtual theater world is that you're taking actors who, are not technically trained, to think about lights and sound and set and everything. And suddenly, as an actor, that you have to be all of those things.
But you get coaching right before, or is there like a pre-production?
There wasn't. Well, there were
discussion?
Maybe 3 rehearsals, but there wasn't very much to it. It was just to read through. But the cohort that I'm in right now, they do have 3 sections where they have like a technical streaming production cohort, which is what I'm a part of. They have a directing cohort and they have an acting cohort. So in the acting cohort, they do like discuss and go through like techniques, equipment that you should have as an actor at home. And then the directing cohort, basically they're talking about how do you run a rehearsal online? How do you have that space? How do you, if you want your actors working on different things, do you use breakout rooms? How do you use communication back and forth? It's a lot more complicated.
Because how did you know when it was your turn? You just knew the text, so you knew when to go in, but was it like a visual cue or something? It was just like
it was more like sitting around waiting for our turn to come. Because we did have a start time, but we were also live and there were other shows going on. And so we did have the person, I don't think she was the streaming technician. She was just stage manager who was saying, actors in place, 5 minutes, whatever. So, you're just sitting there like waiting.
They say, you mean like the text, like on your screen and your...
No, they'll just say it. You can hear it.
Oh, okay.
And then, yes, you're interacting. Like I had to come on screen from off, so I had to be listening for my cue and then just came in. And I mean, it's not that different from theater because you're still doing the same thing where you're listening for your cue, you're watching what your partner's doing. But it's different because everything is, in your screen.
But how do you feed off like people? How do you... Because you say that it's similar to being on like a theater or a play, but you get the cues. Those are similar, but then you're in front of the camera and it's go time, but you don't. It's like not crickets there, but there's no crowd. There's no you.
Yeah,
even when
that's true. Yeah.
Even when people aren't talking, you can feel that there's
can feel the
tension
energy.
or the energy.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Trying to think back to the first time we did the Screaming Sundays as well, the Festival Bat Noir Screaming Sundays. I think you saw that with Handy and Candy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
was that before?
Maybe. But it was interesting because Well, first of all, it was only our second time performing the show together. So it was all improvised. I had no idea what I was doing.
Obviously, it was lighter. It was more fun. It seemed
Yeah.
more fun, more like joking and
Yeah.
playful. And
Yeah.
the other one, you could feel that it was like the energy from a play. But
Yeah.
pardon me, what was the name again for
The Handy and Candy.
Handy and Candy? Yeah, that
Yeah.
was, well, the name says it all. I mean, it was just funny. It was.
Yeah.
I prefer theater. I like funny, but I thought that, I don't know. Who am I to judge?
I already heard your critique.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, I mean, it's constructive feedback. I mean,
Well, we got a little more practice during the festival because we were on live every night for 5 nights.
yeah, you are in the Fringe. You're on the front lines of this new theatrical construction, audiovisual, new technology stuff going on. I'm afraid of it, or I mean, I am always dabbing in it. I'm always working with the new technology, but I'm not like, I don't like live stuff. I don't like, I would like to try this live,
Yeah.
but I know that it needs to be cut up, and a lot of stuff ends up on the cutting floor but I want people to watch this or listen to it and have like a pleasant experience. I don't want to burden people watching or listening. There is an advantage to being alone in front of the camera because there's less judgment, and I find anyways, for my kitchen shows, I find that I'm better alone because I can just be myself and be stupid if I want to, and I don't feel the immediate judgment.
Oh my God, the other day I was doing a version of your cooking show.
Oh yeah.
I was doing
It's
my
fun,
character.
eh?
I don't
To
know
do
who
your
I am
own-
though. But I had a French accent. It was quite fun. Yeah.
But it's liberating to do those shows. I do it just
But I wasn't filming myself. I was
Okay.
just doing it.
But you should do a cooking show.
Well, I'm a really bad cook.
Okay, bang. Bobby Pinchot is not really the best cook, I don't think. I mean, he learns the recipes right beforehand, but most of them are really simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's liberating to do those things. There's energy that I need to expunge, or I need to release something when I do those shows. I just need to learn like technique to be able to. I need to learn the character. I don't know him. And it shows because the first versions or the first episodes are like, sometimes I go back to myself.
Yeah.
I need to really learn how to keep that character and, make him live, or, yeah.
You don't think so? You don't?
I don't think I have him down.
Character? No.
I'm thinking of a wig right now. Like, I've been thinking of because I don't want him to look too much like me. That's one of the comments I've been having, is that he looks like me, and he does look like me. I never thought of developing that character. I just gave him a funny name and started talking funny, but I didn't think about the costume.
I love that you have so much fan mail.
I do, or he does. Apparently, allegedly. Yeah.
De tout mon cœur.
Yeah.
De bon cœur.
Well, a wig, probably. Yeah, I'm gonna look into it for
wig.
yeah, because my hair, I like my hair long, but that character has like short hair because he needs to be kempt for those cooking shows, so his hair doesn't fall into the food.
Well, what about just putting like one of those nets?
Oh, the nets. Yeah.
No. No, you can't do that.
I don't know. I'm looking into that. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Maybe like a slicked back hair.
Yeah, well, the episodes I'm post-production right now, I had gel in my hair
Oh, yeah.
because it was getting out of control. I like my hair long and not kempt, and
Crazy.
yeah, but he's like more
Let
like
your
a
hair down.
yeah, exactly. So I want to hide it under the wig. Yeah. Anyways, did you wigs? No, you
I did for Candy.
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 Maybe she would go on the Bobby Pain show.
Oh, she
cooking show.
would.
Oh my goodness.
She definitely would. She would definitely go in the cooking show, Candy. Yeah. Candy hasn't been out in a while.
What about a candy cooking show? Would you? I'd film a candy cooking show.
A candy cooking show.
Yeah.
What would Candy cook?
anything would be funny if Candy was cooking it. Or maybe it could turn into a mess at the end and she was just, fuck it, just order food. You know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That would be the punchline.
Yeah.
Like it's a skit. It's a bit. I love bits. Bits are...
But Candy likes to have a partner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
A puppet?
Could be a puppet. Oh, Candy loves puppets.
She had a puppet partner, didn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Handy is...
Andy. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Handy is my puppet partner.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe he could be mutated into something a little bit more elaborate.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, it's funny. Like I was saying before, I don't really like to do solo gigs.
Okay.
I kind of like I like playing off somebody else's humor. That's why it's more interesting to have like, talk shows where there's guests.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm more the guest.
Okay, because I was gonna say you would like or like a talk show.
But I do like to like shine on the show. So you have to be a pretty strong host. Because I can.
Yeah, because she's the comic relief.
I think so. I think she plays pretty innocent. Yeah, Candy is pretty innocent, but she's really not. Like, I don't know if you remember the scene, but so the premise is that Handy Kaufman is the host and Eric Raisin is the producer, the tech guy, and then Candy is the co-host. And Eric Raisin, the producer, is always messing up. He's either giving the wrong call time or, a visual is supposed to come up on the screen and it's upside down. And so Handy is pretty mad at Eric and yells at him and calls him all the beautiful words. And Candy just tries to keep everybody happy and does the little song and dance. And so I think there was a scene when, Handy was yelling at Eric because he'd put the poster upside down on the screen. And so Candy gets it in her head, and this was all improvised, but she gets it in her head that it's okay. I'll just put myself upside down. And so she puts herself upside down. In the meantime, she basically moons the camera. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
My 11-year-old was like, Mom, why did you do that? I'm like, it wasn't me. It was Candy.
Wardrobe issue or technical difficulties. Probably the same.
That's why you need a partner.
Like to throw lines and stuff?
Yeah, well, just to throw things back and forth because I don't know. I mean, maybe I would feel more nervous if I was doing it on my own alone.
You mean the writing process, the whole process?
No, like
just
the performance. Yeah. Like I've always been better in a couple, in a pair, Like even when I was doing clowning, I never liked the idea of having to go by myself. I always had to have a clown partner because, there's this feeding off each other.
Yeah, duality. You need that.
Yeah. And
being a clown on your own, that must suck.
It kind of does. It kind of does.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. I mean, the kind of clowning that I learned.
It's the sad clown. He's on his own.
Yeah. No, but the kind of clowning that I learned was, I don't even know if there's actually a technique that was, coined for this, but it was the special friend. The special friend.
That sounds wrong. What do you mean, the special friend?
Like when you were discovering your clown and exploring your clown, you were basically, you went on this sort of last date with your special friend. It could be anyone. It could be someone who was actually in your life, or it could be someone who, was very important to you, who is no longer there. It could be anyone, really. So I can't remember who I chose at the time, but it might have even been my grandfather who's deceased or something. I can't remember. But for some reason I chose that person. And, so we would go on this like last kind of day out together and enjoy doing like everything that we wanted to do together, like lots of fun and, talk and do everything. And then at the end of the day, I had to say goodbye. I had, he went on a boat. And, he walked up the long ramp to get onto the boat and, in the crowd, and he got lost and I couldn't see him anymore. And then, suddenly he popped up. He was on the balcony and waving goodbye, and this whole thing of goodbye to this person that was really special. And then they finally, unanchored and started to sail away. And you turn around and you walk back the same way that you came to like take that person to the boat. But as you are walking away, you realize you have one last thing to say that you have to say to this person. And, your life would just not be the same if you don't get to say it. So you have to run all the way back and you have to, look for them and you can't see them. And finally you point them out and they're there and you go to wave and you go to say the thing, but then you realize it's okay. They already know.
See, you can't do that in a live camera thing. You wouldn't be able to run the whole...
That is your discovery of your special friend when you're learning who your clown is. So I learned who my special friend was. Now, this is the next step of the special friend. So the special friend is gone, but they're always with you. And as a clown, you are always with your special friend. Like your special friend is with you everywhere and can pop up in different forms. So like, for example, I could be, street performing and there's a grumpy old man and everybody else in the crowd is laughing and playing with you and responding positively. But that one old man is not paying attention. He's grumpy. You can tell he hasn't had what he wanted for that day. And you can suddenly think, oh, my special friend is playing a grumpy old man today.
Okay.
A grumpy old man who doesn't want to pay attention to me. Oh, now the special friend loves you and is only playing with you. So they're never rejecting you. They're like, if they're rejecting you, it's like a game. So then you can play. And you play with that person as if they're your special friend. And it's amazing how magical it can become because you put that energy into somebody who doesn't want to look at you, who doesn't want to smile, who doesn't want to, but you put that energy into them and suddenly...
Well, anyway. It's the same principle as like, let's say you're in a class and there's the head of the not the alpha of the class, but the kid that's the most annoying, that's really, pressing your buttons and trying to get the teacher to react. That's the one you need to cut his head, like quote unquote there.
Cut his head.
Yeah, if you deal with the main kid that's the little bastard, then the rest of the class is gonna follow up. They're gonna follow through. They're gonna respect you because you managed to get the
as
lead.
The teacher, as the teacher.
Yeah, as a teacher.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and like just seeing everybody as like a potential special friend.
Oh, Robin Williams and what's the movie there?
Patch Adams.
The clown, but Poet Society. Like, he was the clown teacher, but so that's something in a class that you got.
I did it in a class. I can't even remember. I can't even remember the name of the teacher because I was sitting in on a class. I had a friend who was a high school teacher, and he brought in his sort of mentor to do this class on clowning. And he invited me and another friend that had been in a play with him.
I don't know if I'd be able to do that because you got to be quick-witted.
So
no, but I mean, facing the one that's like problematic and seeing him as your, how do you call it again?
Special friend.
Special friend.
Yeah.
Don't you hate the special friend at some point? It's a competition, or it's like a conflict. It's a butting of heads.
Well, then you can play with that hate.
You can play with it. Yeah. Yeah,
like
but what if you don't have
it doesn't necessarily mean you're always nice to your special friend because your special friend might be being a jerk.
Yeah, but you can't break the fourth wall, though. That's the thing.
What? Yeah. With a clown, there is no fourth wall.
You can't get pissed at him. Like, you need to always be witty and come up with the right comeback. And
yes, but it's the spirit, you see. You're not really dealing with acting when you're clowning. You're more real when you're clowning than you are acting.
Sorry, I'm thinking about the guest I had, Karina Vernet-Cassis. She's a clown. She goes in the hospitals, and I don't know if you saw that episode, but she's because what you're saying there, I'm like, how do you? It is personal. It is close up and it's more close up and personal than what you're saying.
Yeah,
like clowning versus like a play, because you already have the structure. You already have the play written, so you read those lines and the emotions are already. You know what to expect, but here it's like improv. So
not always. I mean, you can. As a clown, you can approach text that's written. You can be in a play that's written, has structure and everything. But the idea is the spirit of the clown is so much more connected to the audience, connected to the space, connected. Like the clown is connected. Always connected. But the moment they're disconnected, they're no longer funny. They're no longer lovable. Yeah. They have to be in connection all the time. Which is why it's really hard and difficult
I wouldn't be able to. I would get pissed at the special friend for sure.
But you've seen it on stage with two clowns where the one gets so mad at the other that he beats him.
Yeah.
Like you've seen it already, like Punch and Judy. Those are two clowns.
But what if, no, but I mean the special friend is like, let's say you're alone in front of a crowd and you need to do some... You're doing something. You're acting out your character, but then the let's say the old man in the crowd that's grumpy that day and just is stuck in front and doesn't want to be interacted with, but then you see him, so you start interacting with that emotion.
If he is your special friend, you see, because as a clown, you're in a constant state of connecting with everyone. So,
is it variable? You can change whenever you want throughout the. Let's say 5 minutes later, okay, I've annoyed this old man enough. I can go with this little kid with a balloon and start poking at the balloon, and the
balloon can become your special friend too. Oh, okay. I mean, you've seen clowns that interact with inanimate objects they interact with them as if they're actually
it's slapstick beings. Then it becomes kind of like a
exactly but it's just
Steve Martin or
I don't know, it's like a philosophy, because I mean there's all kinds of different philosophies of clown. In fact, there's one there's a guy, what's his name now?
Did you see the Martin's short, Steve Martin, Netflix? Oh my God, that was amazing. We need that. More like a theatrical, polished, musical, grandiose thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's mostly just catastrophic anarchy, just, how do you say it? Just vulgar almost. You could see by Martin Short and Steve Martin, there's like something, there's a structure, it's there, you could feel it, and they play with it. It's bits, it's one bit after the other.
But that's from a kind of a certain era, though.
Yeah, I miss that era.
Yeah.
Like what they're trying to do now with the Muppets on Netflix, not on Netflix, on Disney Plus, there's like a Muppets show, but they're trying to, they converted it into today what it would look like, so it's more like a Zoom call kind of feel.
Really?
Yeah, and it lacks that theatrical show evening in front of an audience, it's missing. I mean, if I were to do a puppet show, I would definitely have like more like a structured. Muppet Show is an amazing template. I don't think that the fact that Muppet Show is not existing today is because it's not because of that. It's not because of the crooner look.
No.
I think the crooner look, Martin Short, Steve Martin, play bits, grandiose musical thing, that's not what's hindering those shows from existing. I think it's more like you need to have like an intellectual connection with the content. You need to reflect. You need to think about it. You need to have like that extra mile to go to appreciate it through and through. It's missing today.
Yeah. I don't know.
How does that transcribe into like what you're doing with the like online video? And do you think that would miss? And is it there? Is it allowed to thrive, that aspect of it, or like how do you play with a special friend when you're in front of a camera and you can't like touch people, you can't like interact with that energy? It's like
Yeah, we're crossing over into different
Maybe I
realm.
can't
Well,
do
no,
a
just
parallel with
because I
those
have
two
never
elements,
done
but
clown in that environment before. In fact, I've never, other than in my one woman show, that was the first time I performed clown on stage in a scripted work.
was it clown?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You didn't even watch it.
No, I watched. No, but it was more like it. No, but okay, but for me, because clown is like not scripted.
Well, there was a part of clown in it. There was a whole sequence that I decided when we were in rehearsal. I sort of said, I think this is sort of Lucille Ball-ish, or that's what I was thinking. And then I had a friend. So it's funny. I don't know. You mentioned a woman that was working in hospitals as a clown.
Yeah, Karina Vernet-Cassis. Yes.
Yeah, and it's Dr. Clown, or it's another
Yeah, it is.
association?
Yeah.
Okay. So Melissa Holland was one of the co-founders of Dr. Clown here in Montreal. I think she studied in Edinburgh, and then she worked in France doing the clowning in hospitals. And so then when she came back to Montreal, she started it with, I think, 2 other clowns. And now it's huge, you know. She happens to be a friend of mine, and I called her up and said, look, I have this scene and I want it to be sort of clown-like, but I don't really know. Yeah, I'd really like to have, you know, someone with really good experience with slapstick, you know, to coach me. So she came to the rehearsal, and jokingly, I brought my clown nose. I was like, oh, maybe we'll try it. So I did. And I don't know, I think like we got through 5 minutes of rehearsal, and everybody in the room agreed, you got to keep the red nose.
Okay.
So it became clown. But it's a lot of work to do the rehearsed kind of clowning, because you have to rehearse it so well. It's like dance choreography. You have to learn the steps, and then you have to let it all go when you're in performance. Because you have to be connected with your audience. You have to be connected with, you know, the scene, with your emotions, with everything.
Maybe that's what it is nowadays. It's like those new characters, the new breed of acting in front of a public through media is going to be that very type of person that's narcissistic and just reacting to their own mirror in front of the camera, like Instagram people or the TikTok generation of acting.
Yeah.
Like the stuff I showed you, I sent you the girls that just reenact those Disney quips or the little parts of the Disney films, and they just act it out and look like almost cartoonish the way they move. That's it's mesmerizing, but it's worrying because it's not real talent. They're just animators without a pen and a pencil
we get to the question of, are we doing it for our audience, or are we doing it for ourselves first?
Yeah, it's mostly narcissistic, I find those.
But that's such a judgment. Why would you say that's narcissistic?
Or it's pre-production. It's just
our little kids who are like 5 years old, looking in a mirror, making all kinds of faces and making themselves laugh. Is that narcissistic, or is that a kid at play discovering?
Or it's just natural. Yeah, I mean, we're our first person that we need to convince before we can move forward with.
I think it was Jim
with
Carrey
others.
Who used to do a lot of acting in the mirror. Yeah.
No, that's true.
I did too.
No, that is true. I mean, the ballet dancers are going to do it in front of the mirror. Anybody's going to do it, like be in front of I was going to say do it in front of the mirror, but I mean, everybody's going to practice in front of the mirror, but yeah. No, maybe I am judging the Instagram. I'm curious to know what that's going to lead to. Like, who is there's probably already someone that was bred on Instagram that made it to like maybe more of like a professional field through their actions or their rehearsing in front of the Instagram crowd. But yeah, because they're talented. I mean, they're good at mannerisms and moving and the physicality of it.
Some of the dance stuff is amazing.
Oh, yeah. But it is in a pre-production setup. It's a test. They're just testing out the limits, or they're testing. It's like we're privy to being there for their pre-production steps, because it doesn't have any. You know, it's not a film. It's not like Instagram is just a series of flashes of pre-production, kind of. It's like having a camera always around to film you, or
I don't know, though, because maybe they rehearse it a bunch of times first.
no,
I mean,
probably to be
I
on
had to
time
do-
with yeah.
I had to do just a short, like, little filmed thing for the theater company that I was teaching at. And it took me forever. You know, I had to rehearse like so many times and record it so many times and go back. And I do not like film.
No,
No, because there's that level of perfectionism. And that's something that I really enjoy about the stage, is that I don't have to be a perfectionist.
yeah, but you still have to follow the cues, though.
Yeah, but, you know, if I get out there and something goes wrong, I make something of it.
Yeah,
You know, it becomes something else. It becomes another moment. But in film, and especially the fact that you see yourself, or you have to go back and see yourself, and there's always that judgment. And like, we filmed my one-woman show, and I've watched it. First of all, I didn't watch it for like 6 months. And then when I finally got the courage up to watch it, you know, I watched it over and over and over again. And, you know, all the technical stuff that I could point out that didn't work, or whereas, you know, I can tell that the audience, the live audience, and me during the performance, we were okay with all that. We were okay with all the imperfection. Like, they were on the ride with me, and it didn't matter if we stumbled over one stone. You know, they got up with me for the next part. And that's the thing that I love about live theater that you cannot reproduce.
do you want to give the name, or are people going to be able to look it up on Google and find a lot of
Yeah.
information on the?
Sure. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, How to Kill Your Baby 101.
Because
Yeah.
you told me that once that you didn't keep you like it when it's ephemeral, or it's like it's been done, so you don't need any physical proof of it existing, or it was for you, it was to process.
Yeah, but that
something.
was before I realized that it could have more impact, that if we did it again, that it could still have impact.
Well, I think you should make a film out of it.
Yes, I know. I know.
But you don't want to do it again. You've
I do.
processed the
I do.
emotions.
I do. Actually, you know what?
Wouldn't it be uncomfortable to redo it?
So a woman that I spoke with recently about it recommended that I hire an intimacy coach. This is a new thing. This is
What's
a new
that?
thing. I don't know that much about it, so I don't want to go into great detail. But basically, it's a person who can work with performers or artists to help them deal with some of those more intimate, more personal
Yeah, because you got to delve back into
material.
the tough emotions that
Yeah.
you got rid of when you finished the play. Like when you were done the play, I don't know if I remember it correctly, but I think you told me that it was like, you know, it was over. You got rid of the. It
Yeah,
helped
I didn't
you to.
exactly. I didn't feel the need to go back and do it again.
Must be tough to go back there.
Well, it's funny because I didn't feel that way as I was performing it. You know, like, and I performed it 3 times, so I didn't feel that way. Like, you know, I performed it the one night, and then I was okay to go back and do it 2 and 3. But yeah, I guess given a little bit of space, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because an artist that is able to be successful, I think there's a lot of things that he needs to master, or he or she needs to master, like the administrative part of it. But there's also the fact that you're able to differentiate the emotion that drove the project, and not making it synthetic, but understanding that emotion and just channeling the vibe, the original vibe, and being able to transport it through all these different sessions where you're going to show the piece, or you got to master that. You got to be able to and not feel it as a burden while you're doing it.
Well, I think that's something too that just occurred to me. I feel like, you know, in creating the show, I was just telling my story. And, you know, I was aware of the pressure that I had on me to tell not only my story, but the story of my aunt. I guess I haven't talked about the show, but it was about postpartum depression. And my aunt, Dode, committed suicide when her youngest was only 5 months old, and she had a toddler as well, my cousins. And I told a part of her story in the play. And so I knew already that I had like a responsibility. I also told the story of a young mother who threw her baby from the 8th floor balcony of her apartment when the baby was 2 weeks old. And I heard that announced over the radio. My son was only a year old, I think. And I heard it just as it had broke in the news. And it was in, trying to think now, was it in
Probably all over
Toulouse.
the media. Oh, in France. Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was in, yeah, because I was living in France at the time. And I was actually visiting my in-laws in the south of France. So, it was just all, anyway, I told a part of that story in the play as well. So I already knew that there was like a responsibility, there was a heaviness, there was a, I was not just telling my story, I was telling theirs as well. So I had to honor that. But then after I saw the audience reactions, and some of them, like a friend of mine, she left the play, I think, immediately after seeing it. She cried all the way home. And it took her a couple of days, but then she wrote me like a 5-page email just telling me like all the things that it brought up for her. It kind of made me realize like this is impactful, not just on myself, or even wasn't just on mothers either. Like my brother came from Kingston to see it. And he said, I spent the 3 hours driving home going, oh my God, I have to thank my wife when I get in the door, like for being a superstar, mother of our children. And
yeah, it's kind of like that. Well, sorry, I've been watching The Crown recently, and there's that episode where there's the school that gets destroyed by the little mountain that falls into the school, and the kids are dead, and then the one of the characters goes to take photos of the event, and then he just calls his wife and says, go kiss the children. Yeah. But can you, sorry, off topic, but I mean, as a person on the stage, is that enough to drive you to continue doing the show, knowing that those emotions are still there, and you're doing the play no matter, even if the emotions are still there and burdening you, are you...
Well, I think the play itself has to go on.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have talked about the idea of publishing it. And then at the beginning, a couple of friends who were working on it with me, they suggested, we could do this as a film and at some point someone said, we could even publish it and someone else could perform it and it could be seen all over the world. And I was like, no, it's mine.
Oh, yeah. No, but it has to grow.
Someone performing my story, like me?
Yeah.
No. So I was a little bit possessive on first reaction, but now I'm not. However, I am a little bit possessive in the sense that I would love to cast someone to play the role of the mother. I would love to direct it.
Okay.
Because one of the hardest parts about performing in a play that I had the overall vision for was that I wanted more from my actor. And I was the actor. And as a director, I believe that I can really bring something out in my actors. I don't know. I love directing. And I was actually going more towards directing in the first place. Like I was I'm starting to get like stage fright.
Tired of the stage?
No, just stage fright.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You seem like, no, you're not afraid of the camera and the stage. You are?
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, I am. It's true. I jumped out of a plane, I think, 15 years ago. And last summer, I was supposed to do it again. And I was like, no.
Yeah, but did you see there's a guy that died recently, like 2 weeks ago? The coach and the guy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, don't tell me that. Anyway,
yeah.
I
would
I'm
never
not
jump
gonna
out
do
of
it
a
again.
plane. Yeah, no, that's the last place I'd find myself.
Yeah.
That's
but
not the
that's kind of
same
what
as-
it's like
Oh,
being
yeah.
on stage,
I don't know. I would put my sunglasses on and just play my guitar and be on the stage. I've done it like over a dozen times, 20 times. I don't know how many times, but
Yes, but
I
guess
don't
what?
get stressed.
You're behind your guitar.
Yeah, and my glasses.
You've got your glasses.
Hey, let's put our sunglasses. No. Yeah, maybe. But I mean, it's still me playing my songs, and it needs to be perfect, and it needs to be like, my voice can't break. I need to play the songs right, can't mess up the notes, the chords, and
that doesn't make you nervous?
I don't know. I just knew the songs so perfectly that I just went on stage and did them. I don't think I ever messed up any song. Once I wanted to yell in the microphones for some stupid reason, and my voice broke on the first song.
Okay.
And yeah, and that was the only time that something really bad happened on the stage. But no, I just went behind my glass. I was doing it for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I was mentioning before, the fact that as an artist, I need to understand that basic emotion and just channel it throughout all the next representations of the show or the songs, the way that it can't be personal.
Yeah.
I have to understand the character, and I need to be in front of the people and play my guitar and play those songs, but I can't just get the energy from that emotion, because at some point the emotion's not going to be there anymore.
Exactly.
I think it's just a reflex.
No, you're right. And that's why we learn techniques. Yeah. But the emotion can be there, but it's not necessarily going to be your personal emotion.
Yeah.
Like, I've studied a lot over the years, different techniques to bring those moments out, and there's all kinds. Like, there's the Meisner technique, and there's the method, but I tend to go more towards physical theater. And the most recent workshops that I've done that I found really helpful were with Michael Chekhov technique, which is where they do, they're called psychological gestures. And so you get your body and your energy into a certain form, and then the emotion is there. But it's kind of like martial arts, if you get in the position, then the energy, is there and you can follow through. Or even like a musician who, if you are putting your fingers right on the strings, then the music's going to come through. It's just natural. Yeah. And sometimes you got to push it. And I know, like, the show that we recorded, I was pushing it the whole time. That audience it was difficult. Like, it was there were more men in the audience for that last performance. And I could feel there was a different energy. Not that they weren't as affected, but there was a different energy. And I had to really push it.
To reach them? There
was some kind of wall. And I had to just keep
because they didn't
pushing.
understand? They didn't understand the character?
It was an energetic thing. I can't explain it, because it's not like I really noticed that they were men in the audience. It was only after the fact that I said, "Oh, that was a tough audience." And they were like, "Oh, well, And I was like, "Oh, okay." Because you don't really notice that when you're performing. You don't notice things like that. You more notice, like, how does it feel when you go out on stage? Did that one go as smooth as the last time? Or, was I being... was I relying more on technique that time, or was I able to just completely let go and ride the wave?
I think that's probably what I was trying to mention with the Steve Martin Short thing is just the efficient display, or the efficient, how do you say, like, how efficient they were at being in front of the crowd. Like, Martin Short is like a genius at just... Yeah. I don't think he obviously he goes with the emotion and the energy in the crowd, but he doesn't go back to, it's a reflex. It's a conditioning. He knows the cues, the physical cues. He knows what to do at each moment. Yeah,
he's very skilled. Yeah. And the best clowns are also very skilled. But at some point you have to be able to, like, let go of those skills and be in the moment.
The skills are like kind of like the exoskeleton that's keeping you in check, or the parameters that are keeping
like choreography.
Conditioning
Like, what makes the difference between one dancer and the next? They're dancing the same moves. Yeah. They're doing the same steps, but one is electric and the other one is not so much, Yeah,
it's mastering the technique.
One is going to grab the audience and make them feels something and the other isn't.
Yep.
You know, it's the same with singing, I think.
Yeah,
you ever
'cause
watch those, what is it?
No.
Britain's Got Talent or X Factor,
I knew you were gonna say
things
that.
like
No.
that.
I hate
love
that.
them.
Oh, I hate
I
that
love
stuff.
them.
No, it's so judging. I hate that. When people are judging me and what I'm doing in front of an audience, I'm like, don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate that generation.
Oh, I would never do it myself. There is
I-
no way I would
It makes
ever
it
do it.
artificial. I find
Yeah.
that musical people are fake. I think that it's a beautiful art, but it's fake. It's like taking
What do you mean musical people?
like the people that are on stage and just singing like life is like that. Life is not like that. It's like it's synthetic. It's not real. It's like
But neither is theater.
well, no, it's a little bit more real. It's much more real. It's you could feel it's.
But can't you do that with your voice? Can't you do
Who's
that
the
with
guy? Oh, I forget his name. That got him Loki there. The guy in Thor there. Hey, let's try Siri. Hey Siri, who plays Loki?
Here's an answer from MoviewUp.com. Tom Hiddleston has played Loki as the main villain.
Oh, your Siri has a British
Thor in
accent.
Marvel's The Avengers.
How lovely.
I should do that now. I should have like instead of looking on the screen, I should just ask Siri. Do you think Apple would sue me if I did that?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I'm using Siri's voice. Is that like?
That might be, yeah.
Okay, let's do that again. Hey Siri, who plays Loki?
Here's an answer from MoviewUp.com. Tom Hiddleston has played Loki as the main villain in 2 Marvel movies, Thor and Marvel's The Avengers.
All right, Tom Hiddleston.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing yesterday on Facebook of him playing the famous playwright or theater
Guy.
guy. I have
Who? Shakespeare?
Shakespeare, yeah. All right, let me do that again because I had Malyar in my head. I don't know why. All right, Tom Hiddleston. I saw him do a Shakespeare thing. I don't know. I
Okay.
can't remember. Hey Siri, which Shakespeare play did Tom Hiddleston play in?
Okay, I found this on the web for which Shakespeare play did Tom Hiddleston playing. Check it out.
Thank you, Siri. Rather good. Anyways, he played in this Shakespeare play. Like, it was so intense. It was so convincing. It felt like he was real. Like, he was really expressing those emotions, feeling them.
Yeah.
Like, was he feeling them? Like, I'm going to put this while we talk there. His face was so, like, his blood, his veins in his neck. He was just so angry at I don't know who, and the light was perfect. And it was like the crowd, the people would spread, like, go away as he was saying those lines, and the light shone on him and everything dimmed around him. And it was so intense. It was so truthful. It was real. Like,
Well,
you don't,
I think you have to feel something.
Yeah.
But maybe.
But that kills you at some point, doesn't it?
Oh, I think
you're
that's why
drawing
there's a
on
lot of abuse, substance abuse in those fields. Yeah. Because, yes, I mean, I myself, I have a hard time when I close a show. You know, I go through a withdrawal.
Yeah.
And, like a depression, too. And one of the things I remember I read Drew Barrymore's autobiography years ago, and she talked about the depression that she went into after they finished filming E.T. Because I don't know if you knew, but like Drew Barrymore grew up in, a very famous household, and I believe that her father was an alcoholic. And, it was a screwed up family, a Hollywood family. And she described her experience on Steven Spielberg's E.T. set and the whole production as being like the first time she felt really safe in a family, because you become like family with the people you're playing with the people who are taking care of you, on and off set. And she said that she went through a really, really bad depression after that. And that's when she hit drugs and alcohol very, very hard.
That's when she played in Firestarter and burned the house down.
Yes. Oh, I love that movie.
I don't really remember seeing that. Yeah.
I wanted to do that so many times.
Oh, yeah.
But listen,
Burn stuff down, or?
Let me finish. So she, just my hair and one of the main things that she talked about was how they're all there and really close for a time. And then as soon as the production's over, it's like you're dropped. You're like abandoned. And, it's really difficult, I think, when...
I saw that in for Lord of the Rings. They filmed the 3 movies back to back, so they were off on the road for 3 years. Or The Office, or how 9
you even
seasons.
See Steve Carell and what's his name? The guy who played Jim.
Jim, and his.
They came back to,
to play a scene, or
to
play
a
new scene,
or
really, I haven't seen that.
Oh, and they get all emotional and
oh, really? I have to see that. Well, you after 9 years of filming a show, you get emotional for sure. His send off was so emotional, the last episode, and that was genuine emotion. The technique, he wasn't able to contain the emotion. He drew on the emotion to fuel the that makes sense. You were talking about addiction, and I was on Facebook again and just looking at this. I don't know why I receive all these videos of the grunge era, and I saw Scott Weiland, Stone Temple Pilots, how he died a few years ago, but his evolution through drugs must have been intense, and you can tell in front of the crowd how charismatic he was, and just letting go and just being himself. But I don't know if it's lack of technique. Was he just fueling his energy from those basic emotions, or was he drawing energy from demons from inside to fuel his shows and just being so? Or Jim Morrison, or I don't know, going on stage was drawing on these negative things just to be who he needed to be in front of the crowd, or. You wouldn't see Martin. I don't know if Martin Short had issues with certain things.
Everybody is different, but Robin Williams, for example, he had problems with addiction, and he was in recovery for many, many years. And some people even, I don't know, people suspected that maybe he got back into it again later on in later years, which, unfortunately happens. I don't know if it happened to him, but it does happen.
Well, when he faced the fact that he had a neurological disease.
See, that I only learned recently. I didn't know that.
I can't remember.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. We had a family member who took his life because he was in his I guess he was almost 80. And he was just he and my grandfather had made a pact that if they ever got to a stage in older age where, they weren't going to be able to do what they wanted to do anymore, that they would just check out.
Yeah. Culturally, it's tough to conceive that. I would like to be able to.
Especially, he was a really tough guy, and he was in the Marine, and he was, an engineer, and very intellectual, academic,
but he was
not
ready.
Emotional, but he was just he knew that he was, he was diagnosed with some terminal condition, and he just didn't want to go out that way, so he took his life.
Did he ask for? Oh, well, that was a long time ago, or was
but it was before the
legalized suicide,
assisted.
Assisted
euthanasia. Assisted dying.
Euthanasia, that's a good word.
Yeah.
It is, but I mean, it's not it's not very romantic for a word.
It's not a very romantic thing.
No, but it's when you look back on your life and you're able to face your own end and see it as a beautiful thing or everything accomplished, and now you're able to decide on your own that you want to go.
Yeah.
In that sense, romantic.
it's quite the subject. It comes up a lot recently.
Oh, yeah?
My brother and I talked a lot about it because, we lost our mom to cancer. And then I think it was 5 years later, my brother lost one of his best friends to the same cancer. When my mom died, his friend was already diagnosed. He already knew that he had that cancer. And he was just telling me how difficult it was at the end. And he was like, man, I don't want to go through that.
I can imagine.
Yeah, he was...
You need to, culturally, we need to give that as and not an efficient assisted euthanasia, or is that the name, the word?
Assisted dying, I guess.
Assisted dying, I don't know, it's not.
Euthanasia is the actual word.
Yeah.
The scientific word.
Let's say, like you were saying, the special friend before, he was walking into the distance because he's going to go off and die.
Yeah.
And that's what was it the Inuit that would do that? They would let their elders go when they're ready, and they would just walk away and just let the elements devour them. But culturally, we don't
want to let go.
We don't. Yeah, exactly. We don't want to let go. We're so because we're on a mission. Humans are on a mission to supersede the environment, the ecology, the way that things are. We're thinking that we're so almighty that we're going to be able to thwart death, and so culturally we don't accept it. We don't want to include it in our thought process. But I mean, if I were terminal, I would I'm checking out.
Yeah.
I would be terrified, but I'm no, I'm gonna play some video games for 3 weeks, but then at some point I'm gonna be so tired that I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check out. Maybe it's presumptuous of me for saying, because I might be terrified at that point.
It's all personal. But we were talking about that too, because I was around my mom a little bit more than my brother was, kind of when she was going through some of, her more difficult stages with cancer. And she was feeling like she was in another place, that we were all in the land of the living and she was in the land of no future. No, you couldn't make any plans. You couldn't have any hope, really. I mean, you could have hope for the day, but you couldn't have hope for, she was just saying it was difficult to hear all these people making plans for the future because she knew she wasn't going to be there. Oh my God, this is getting really dark, but I had this recurring dream for a while that my mother was in our house, our family home, and we were having a family reunion because that was her big thing. Every year she made sure that she, organized and made it happen, this family reunion with all of her side of the family. Yeah, she was inside the house because she was dying, and we were all outside, enjoying this beautiful summer, reunion day. And I came in the house and she was in this really dark room. There were no lights at all. All the curtains were closed. And, I opened the door and she was in, going from the light into this dark room. And I just sat with her and I said, I told her what was going on, and she said, you should really go back out there, Erin. They really need you, and, you've got all this energy, and you're playing with the kids, and you're so great. And I was like, yeah, Mom, but I want to stay here with you for a while. And she was like, no, you can't. You can't stay here. You have to go back out to the light. Yeah, you could tell for a while that she was already on her way, and she didn't die for a year and a half after that.
Yeah, it is a dark conversation. I don't know. It made me think of theater when people are going into the theater and you could barely see where you're stepping and there's little lights on the floor and it indicates where you're supposed to sit down, and it seems almost like a religious event.
This almost sounds like a good start to a play.
Yeah,
maybe about death and the afterlife.
Maybe.
The funny thing is I'm a really positive person and I'm smiling all the time, but I have this need to explore those themes. Even when I was in Paris and I was teaching, I was directing a young person's theater club, and we devised a piece together. And a lot of times I would bring either monologues or scenes or whatever from different sources that I had. And we started rehearsing these scenes, and I don't know why, but suddenly this theme came out of like death and life after death, and just this sort of like, and I mean, these were 16 and 17-year-olds.
It's on your mind at that age, I think. I was pretty dark.
Yeah, and they were all for it. Like they really wanted to explore this. So it was great. But yeah, we called it Life, Death, and Everything in Between. But
That's nice. That's a nice title.
And just the fact that I started doing horror theater a couple of years ago after spending like 6 years doing children's theater and clowning and suddenly I come back and I'm like, children's theater, horror theater.
Yeah, well, if you had a background with teenagers talking about death, that's
it was very different. It was different. Yeah. Very, very different. Yeah. Coming into horror theater, it was a totally different approach. Children's theater, you could explore those themes, but you could explore them like in a kind of easier way. But the horror theater, yeah, we've gone pretty dark.
Horror nowadays is more psychological. I think it's more
in
violent.
movies or in theater.
I don't know.
Because in theater, it is more like it does kind of go towards more psychological.
Yeah. Like
yeah, because it's difficult to do, that gory stuff on stage. Although I worked with, a woman who, like, that's her specialty is blood. Blood and gore. And, she used pig's intestines. I had to, like, pull pig's intestines out of this bucket on stage. And
during the one-woman show?
No. Not the one-woman show. No.
Oh, my goodness.
But I did have blood in the one-woman show. Yes, I did. Yeah. Not that much, but yeah. No, I was in a play called 15 Deaths in 15 Minutes. And it was literally that. A 15-minute play where we enacted 15 deaths. And some were pretty brutal. And we didn't use any actual weapons. Everything. No. Just.
Okay.
Yeah. Disclaimer here.
Right.
No, we mimed all of it, but we had blood packets. So at one point I stabbed my co-mate in the head. With a mimed knife. But I had a blood packet in my hand and squeezed it. And of course it went all down her face. And yeah, I had a squirt bottle at one point, and I had my neck like stabbed many times. And so I was like squirting the blood. And
were you, maybe in a past life, you were a pro wrestler, or how they would use those packets a lot? Or actually sometimes it was real blood. But
ooh, yeah.
No wrestling. Yeah.
No.
So the physical aspect and the horror aspect, what's why? Why?
Why?
But why?
Why?
It's just part of it. I mean, but it is a romanticized presentation or interpretation of death, probably, or it was just all out gorish.
Well, the show was based on kind of the premise of, the audience doesn't support the actor anymore on stage. When they're doing death scenes, like they don't do the oohs and the ahs and the oh my gosh and more reactions. Yeah, because they're used to seeing film and seeing it done so seamlessly. So yeah,
it's pushing the theater into a direction where you don't have a choice, but you need to include multimedia or superfluous items to enhance the experience.
Oh, I'll tell you, I've seen a few of this woman's pieces, since, and my stomach turns each time. Like, but I have a really, really overactive imagination. So, I never used to be able to watch those surgery shows, where they'd be showing cutting people open, and I'd be like, I can't watch that. But last year, Marissa Blair did another show called Triptych, and yeah, it was scary. Scary in the sense of just at one stage, it was the very first scene, and they were doing this she kind of goes back and forth between like breaking the fourth wall and acting. So they were doing this scene, and then they would break the fourth wall, and she would say to the other actor, you know, you're not doing it right. You know, this doesn't look, you know, you have to really. So they kept going back and forth like this, and she kept stopping him every time, and he was trying to smother her. And he would, you know, he'd start and like the lights would go down, the music would come up, and, you know, she'd be struggling, and you'd be like, oh my God, he's smothering her. And then she'd hit on him and say, stop. That's not it's not good.
Then he wouldn't be dead and he would get back up, or he would be dead?
No. He was doing that to her.
Yeah.
And she would say, stop. This isn't, you know, you're not pushing hard enough. Or like, so she started to get him mad, basically. And finally, in the end, you know, it led up to he got really mad as the actor and grabbed her by the throat and lifted her in the air and then slammed her down on the bed and continued. And, you know, until she was dead.
Yeah. And that was the
scene. And I was, well,
I've seen this before, this style of storytelling. I read it recently with the, there's a new graphic novel out telling Leonard Cohen's story.
Oh, yeah?
But it's kind of like that concept where parallel to the chronological story of his life, I think it starts off with him falling off his bed when he's like dying.
Oh.
And throughout the book, you go back to when he's on the ground. At the beginning, he's screaming for help, but he's like, nobody's going to hear me. And then it keeps going. And throughout the book, you go from time to time, you go back to that scene where he's on his back next to his bed and just looking at his cat, looking at the things around in his room and just contemplating. So it's kind of like that type of storytelling where there's like a parallel universe that's channeling the emotion.
What I like about it is, it is definitely a roller coaster ride because you know you're really getting into it, and then just as you're getting into it, they like crack out of it, and it's humorous. Like it's humorous because I don't know what it's like for other people who are not in the arts or in theater or whatever. Maybe they don't find it as humorous, but for me as an actor, like it's funny because, you know, I know that feeling of getting really into a scene and then having the director go, stop, you know, you have to move this way, or, you know, like there is that kind of weird going in and out of worlds that you do when you're in performance and rehearsal. And
I think that's what I liked about especially the best films, the horror films that I liked was the one where it was dark humor. You could tell that there was a humor aspect of it.
Yeah.
No, it's just so crude and real and psychological that it's almost unpleasant. I mean, movies they're supposed to convey certain things so you feel emotions, but at that point it's like, okay, you want me to be contemplating human insanity, and that's to me is just at the point where it's, I don't know, I don't see the point.
I'm totally with you, because I mean that was the thing about my one-woman show too, is that when we started out, it kind of started out as a spoof. Like with my producer Eric, he and I were like going back and forth like dead baby jokes, and we were going to do all this like really spoofy stuff. And I think as I got more and more into the writing of the actual story, like the mother's story, because it was kind of two different stories simultaneously. There was a story of the kind of mad scientist almost, or mad lecturer, you know, talking about infanticide and, you know, like why mothers go crazy and, you know, kind of in like tongue in cheek. And on the other side was like my story and, you know, the tragic, sad, you know, horrific side of it. And the more I wrote that side of things, my director, Zag, said, no, let's keep it real, because this is really good stuff. This is really, you know, it's deep and it's powerful. So I got less and less. But there was one scene that I love. It's sort of the part I love the most was the turning point. And it was actually it was a scene that I had basically improvised or devised in the fall before the festival, before I had really started writing the play. And it was during kind of a showcase event for artists. It was called the Free Falling, monthly Free Falling, and we took place at the Freestanding Room. And it was just an opportunity to go and try something out with an audience, a small audience of like other artists. So it was kind of like, low pressure, that became the axis for the play, where I went from being kind of a funny lecturer to like I really turned into the mother who had lost control. So, and it's funny to watch it again because at the beginning, the character comes out, the lecturer comes out with a baby, not a real baby, obviously, and starts to interact with the audience and kind of, in a way, places the baby in the audience's arms, or it's someone in the audience in their arms, saying, oh, here's your baby, and you did so well, in the delivery room, and what a star you were, and blah blah blah, and sort of like being that midwife type of thing, or doctor or nurse or whatever. And the audience was quite, laughing about it, especially when you include the audience like that. The person who's being included is singled out and quite, nervous about it. But the rest of the audience is like, oh, this is great. It's not me. And so they were like going along for the ride and kind of laughing a bit. And there were some kind of funny things in there. Like at some point I said to the woman, oh, the baby's probably got gas, are you breastfeeding? You must have been eating spicy foods, and this is like what a lot of the mothers in the audience could relate to, and kind of laughing at it. But it turned. So it kind of went from this like nice interaction with the audience to it started to get like really tense because the baby starts to cry. And then we're into, like, we got to get the baby to stop crying. And at first, I'm there as the guide. And after a while, I become, in my mind when I was creating this scene, I become the postpartum depression. I become the illness. And I start to say negative things. And I start to bring out the fear and the anxiety and the out of control. And so by the end of it, I was screaming at the audience. And you could tell at that point they were like not laughing anymore. And it was a risky move. I think it only worked because all the things leading up to made the character endearing and made, the audience have sympathy or empathy or compassion. But at that point, it was my job as an artist to really have them experience what it was like to be inside the mother's head. And there it was.
But that was the purpose of the play. I mean, you couldn't be nice the whole time. That would have been, people were there for...
They didn't know why they were there. I mean, look at the title. It's called How to Kill Your Baby 101, and it was at a horror theater festival. Like, people probably thought they were going to come in and see dolls' heads being chopped off or something. Like, they had no idea, what to expect. I mean, a lot of the audience I had already, they were there for me, so they knew. And I did say in the program, that it was about, a mother's descent into postpartum hell. But again, I don't think people were expecting it to be as real as that.
So it was dark comedy.
I don't even know how to describe it. There was comedy in it. It was not dark comedy because it doesn't end on a comic note.
Yeah,
I don't want to give it all
No,
away.
no, exactly. Well,
I mean, it's not available right now yet, but...
it should be.
But I definitely, at this point, if moving forward with it, I would put an element of support into it. Because I think that's important too. If you're going to put material out there that's triggering or that's really psychologically, moving, you should have something
a warning or access to resources.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I told certain friends of mine not to come see it because I knew that they were still kind of in the trenches.
And did they go?
No, some of them, yeah, they said that they couldn't. They
Okay.
couldn't go. Yeah.
Well, that's a good marketing scheme for. Please don't come to this show because you're gonna.
Well, I mean, it's a responsibility on the artist's part as well.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Well, with everything that you're doing now, or like this new media, these new developing the production company and testing out the OBS and dabbing in video editing, are you working out the kinks to eventually be in a position to direct or produce the show in a like a film format?
At this point, I really want someone else to just say, I will do it. I will do it for you.
But you
Yeah.
want to direct. You want to have like a...
I would love to have an involvement in it for sure. Yeah.
I think you should because you know the energy, you know the emotion, you know the...
Yeah, and I'd also like to be involved in the social aspect of it as well, like the speaking about it. A couple of months back, I met a woman she is a social activist, and she speaks about perinatal mood disorders, and she has an Instagram page. Should I say it? Am I allowed to say it?
I think so.
I believe it's called Honestly Speaking. And her whole Instagram page is dedicated to raising awareness and support around women who are suffering or who have lived through postpartum depression or perinatal mood disorders. Yeah. And it's bigger. It's way bigger than just that word. And that's something I didn't know until I started researching.
In the sense that there's different levels of postpartum
depression.
depression.
Everybody, knows the baby blues, and everybody's heard postpartum depression, and they all think that it's like just a couple of things, that, you're crying all the time and perhaps you have a hard time bonding with your baby. But it's so much more than that. And it shows up in so many different ways. Like, I had a hard time being believed that I had postpartum depression because I didn't have a problem bonding with my child. People would see us, and normally a baby with a depressed mother, would have a hard time looking at you, have a hard time smiling, this kind of thing. He was totally fine. I was a wreck. And what I later learned was that I had more postpartum OCD, which shows up...
Obsessive compulsive?
Yeah.
In the sense that you would do things intensely, or...
That I would have these recurring thoughts, these invasive thoughts.
Oh, okay. Worries, like anxiety?
Yes, but with postpartum OCD, you're not only scared, you actually see those things happening. You have these thoughts constantly coming in your head. And one of the things that I had, which I'm not a clean freak. I like to have a clean house, but I'm not a germaphobe or anything like that. But when the baby was small, I could not put him down on the floor because I was terrified that he would, have these germs. And, it was like there was no clean place to put him down. And, there was always, it became kind of a humoristic scene in the one-woman show where I took him into the bathroom with me because I couldn't put him down on the floor. Now, I didn't really get to act out that scene, but I'd love to in film version maybe. But this idea of I'm too afraid to put him down on the floor in the living room.
So you brought him in the bathroom?
So instead of putting him down on probably a cleaner floor than the bathroom, I had to take him into the bathroom with me. And I remember that I was in the bathroom and I had him in my hand and I had to wipe with one hand. And I was just like, this is really unsanitary. And I was terrified. I was terrified. I'm laughing about it now, but at the time I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, I have my baby in my hands and I've this unsanitary
situation,
environment. And how am I going to wash my hands? Because, it was just horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, because instinctively, I always thought that, naively, that mothers as soon as they have babies, there's like an instinct that kicks in and they know everything. But that doesn't happen. Like,
and that misconception also makes it worse for new mothers because, you know, if people think that way, then if you say, you know, I really don't know what I'm doing, you know, they're saying, well, oh, it'll come naturally. Oh, you'll get the hang of it. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
But a woman who is going through this, you need to get help.
Because culturally, or as a society nowadays, you don't have help from the elders. You don't from you know, the grandparents. They're being put in like places where they can't help, and so you don't have that learning curve.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that they would have helped either. I mean, the
Possibly,
thing
yeah.
is, with perinatal mood disorders, you have it. There's really nothing that you can do. You can screen for it. That's something that we're trying to advocate for right now. And Dee talks about it a lot on her Instagram page, that, you know, we screen pregnant mothers or pregnant women for all kinds of things, but we don't screen them for, you know, possible mental health issues. And that needs to be done, you know.
So you're going to have support. Is that the support is there?
That you can be prepared for afterwards, so that you as a mother know that it's possible, and that, you know, your care team knows, and your husband knows, or whoever, you know, your partner with you knows. Because that was something too that my husband talked about after the fact. He had no idea what was going on. And, you know, when we were sort of marketing the show, I did a few Facebook Lives, and I had him talk about that because, you know, later on when I did get support, and then I started giving back, like I was continuing to be involved in like postpartum depression support groups and stuff. And I spoke with a father. His wife would not get help with us, but he reached out, and I spoke to him, and I think there needs to be support for the fathers as well. There's a lot of work to be done still.
Like through art or through your projects, like people are contributing to making people conscious of this problem or of this issue.
Well, the feedback that I got that was so great about the fact that it was presented in a theatrical form was that you can read these things, you can see reports, you can even listen to individual mothers talk about, like Brooke Shields was really the trailblazer for postpartum disorders. When I think she wrote an autobiography, and she was really, really vocal in the press. And I think Tom Cruise like criticized her for it.
Really?
Yes.
Well, the Scientologists, we should listen to them. They know everything.
Oh, I'm sure.
They know who
created the universe. Wasn't he the one who like asked his wife to not make any noise while she was giving birth because it would, you know, disturb the atmosphere? Oh my God.
I don't know.
Anyway, don't get me started.
Let's diss Tom Cruise. I don't know. It's all, I mean, who knows what's real? Like, you know, what he said and who thinks what he said with the media and all that.
But the difference between reading something like that and then going and actually experiencing it in a theatrical setting, like this was my brother's sort of feedback, was he knew a little bit of my story, but he didn't know all of it. And then just sitting there and, you know, seeing my story and seeing how it was affecting the audience around him as well. Like he said he was really like moved by the fact that one minute there's this group of women who are laughing and the next minute they're crying. And he was just really affected by that. So it was more than just his sister's story. It was like a global thing.
It's hidden. It's not out in the open. Like all the maternity aspect of it, like women can't breastfeed in public without creating discomfort. So I can't imagine the postpartum or all the anxieties related to these people or these women that are supposed to instinctively know what they're supposed to do. It's like it comes as a shock. Or
unfortunately, there are more women who suffer it than not. There's like 1 in 5.
Really?
Yeah. 1 in 5 women.
To different levels.
Different levels,
varying degrees of intensity.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know, the thing is, if
Well, just babies crying. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
that's intense. I wouldn't be
It
able
is.
to. I think that's probably one of
I
the
can't
main
hear
reasons
babies
why I
crying.
don't have any kids is the baby's crying. I wouldn't be able to handle it. It's so like, it's like a dozen cats just fighting at the same time.
It's true.
I can't handle it. It's
Especially the newborn. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I had no idea. Like I've babysat for years, since I was 12, but I'd never like been around a newborn for extended periods. And
Oh, my
it
goodness.
is the worst.
how did human beings survive
I don't know.
with their kids being so loud? Like you can't, like ancient humans, like facing the elements or animals,
Some of them
predators,
didn't make it.
because of the babies crying. How do you protect your baby if it's just crying and there's a wolf looking to eat something? It's like you're
Aren't there horror films about that?
because of the baby crying.
The Walking Dead, there was a baby in it.
Oh,
You remember? And
no.
the zombies and oh my God.
Oh yeah, the baby was
Yeah.
crying and then the people got attacked because of that.
Yeah.
It's probably a premise that's been used in movies
Yeah.
often.
Yes. It's the baby's fault.
It's the baby's fault. No, but you see animals that give birth and then the animal is so like gets on its four legs immediately and starts running and needs to run away from the grizzlies. Like it's not crying.
Babies can't do that.
Yeah, I've
They're
seen
so
that.
helpless.
Yeah, well, human
Babies are
babies,
helpless.
it takes like years before it could run away from a grizzly. Even today, I wouldn't be able to run away from a grizzly bear, but
Maybe if you had a baby and threw it at the grizzly,
Yeah, exactly.
it would give you enough time to get away. Okay, now we're going back into the dark humor.
no, that's absolutely no. We got to dose this podcast and go from funny to serious stuff, and then go back to it after that. Just dab a little bit, and then go to the next thing. And it's
Yeah.
like that commercial with the guy who's I think there's two African men. They're facing a lion somewhere, and then one of them starts putting on his running shoes, and he's like, why are you putting your running shoes on? You're not gonna outrun the lion. And he says, oh, I only have to outrun you. So, and he starts running. Yeah, it's tough to go back to another topic having gone through the postpartum thing. It's like, it seems like such an important issue to address that we could talk at lengths, and moving on to something else seems blasphemous almost.
Yeah.
But
We could talk about the OBS stuff.
OBS. I'm gonna try the
Or
broadcasting.
Zoom theater.
No,
theater.
Zoom.
Oh my gosh, I saw a piece of Zoom theater not long ago with the director that I'm working with.
Is that a new thing? Zoom theater?
Yes, it's actually a term. Zoom theater. Yeah. They even have Zoom plays.
Really?
Yeah. Actually,
But isn't that on a non-professional level because it's Zoom and because it's
I don't know.
It's pre-production.
I've
not.
seen professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen. Yeah, no. Obviously, I've seen. What's his name? Shia LaBeouf, who's doing the lecture,
God,
reading
he's weird.
of what's that movie there? The drug-induced film.
I know you told me about it, and
Brad Pitt was in the reading
it.
as well, and
Wasn't he in it with Jennifer Aniston?
Jennifer Aniston was in there, I think.
Yeah,
possibly.
and there was some
But he
weird...
stole the show because he was doing the role, the character who was once played by.
River Phoenix?
No.
No.
It was, the only reference I have is Madonna's husband in '84. There,
Sean
Penn.
Sean Penn.
So Shia LaBeouf had the good role because he was playing the crazy guy
I
who
love
smoked
Sean
too much
Penn.
pot, and he was playing Sean Penn's
Okay, all
character.
right, yeah.
But Shia LaBeouf, so he just had to play this drugged up kid, so it was funny, and it really,
And he got really into it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're not a super famous person and you're doing a Zoom thing, is that like gonna... I don't know. I'm
I don't
judgmental
know.
of Zoom. I don't trust Zoom. I have some...
Well, I'm going to send you the link to this one because
All
it was
right.
really funny. It was really,
Okay.
really well done. It was a 2-person scene, and they were having a virtual date, and it was really well done. And it's that kind of stuff, and it was almost endearing, a little bit like The Office or things like that, because you can use it in a way and get more intimate and get more personal, because you are in your space and People know that you're in your own space. And
Yeah, well, The Office were doing that. They were filming this setting where the cameras were like a documentary style, but the quality was there and the audio quality was there and the lighting and everything was like pretending that it was made like with the means that they had. But I mean, it was well produced.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm judgmental of Zoom. I can understand the need to, I mean, it's a great place to create and connect with others and try out those new medias and send stuff out there. I just wouldn't,
I think it's
hate
because
live.
you're a finisher.
Yeah, that post-production.
You're more of a finisher. Yeah. So all these people going out and like doing the beginnings of things.
Maybe.
It's kind of frustrating.
I hate live stuff. There's so many things that can go wrong. I would broadcast this, but you know, like I said before, there are certain things I'm going to cut out and I'm not going to.
Well, it's because you're going to watch it.
I'm going to watch, yeah.
Right? If you were just doing it live and you weren't going to watch it.
Because there's a certain point where you're producing a content and you're throwing it out there, and if it's meant to be live, there needs to be some kind of notoriety surrounding the movement. I don't know. There needs to be a happening. It needs to be like broadcast, but accessible through the hype, kind of. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's
yeah, but again, you're going
like Shia
that
LaBeouf
step
was there, so
further because you're saying, okay, we're not just doing this for us, but we're doing it for the audience, and the audience has to be there. But you know, you can't present anything to the audience unless you do it first.
No, true.
You know, or you know, the whole intent behind it is to create something.
Exactly.
And then the audience is there, and sometimes the audience is part of the creation. You know, like our show, The Raven, it was technically not great. Right? It was thrown together at the last minute. I wrote the screenplay like not even a week and a half before. You know, I sort of threw together some storyboarding. You know, I don't think we had more than 2 rehearsals for the actual actors. You know, like everything was really thrown together, but the whole point was to do something and to do something different. And we did something different. Like, I've shown it to quite a few people since, and they've been like, oh, you did this all on Zoom? And what do you mean you did it all live? What do you mean there was no cuts or post-production, you know? So, no. With cuts and post-production, it would have looked a lot better. The audio would have been good. The visual, you knew, because I sent you an email beforehand saying there's something wrong with the, what was it, the time
the aspect
coding?
ratio.
The aspect ratio. And so, like, things didn't go perfectly, but we got it done.
Did that get fixed? It looked
No.
like it. No? Maybe because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so it needs to be well done. I need to know what the end product is going to be.
But we sold 100 tickets.
Yes.
We made no money, but we sold 100 tickets. We put it out there.
Yep.
There was an audience. People enjoyed it. The next one will be better.
Yes.
You know, we learned through making the mistakes as well. And I guess that's where my live theater background sort of serves me, because I realized there was a lot of fun in the mistakes. We look at it now and we're like, the last scene, spoiler alert, but the last scene, you know, that the feathers coming down looks like a bird, like just plunk onto the snow. And that wasn't the intention at all, you know, but we couldn't go back and refilm it. It was like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's what we got. So.
Well, that's why I kept bringing back the idea of structured building, making sure everything is tweaked and ready to be filmed.
Yes, but did we ever do it then, Eric?
No, we did not.
No, we did not.
Yeah, it's all my fault.
Well, you know, again, I think
I don't like live stuff, so I wouldn't put my foot in a project that might have all these.
Okay, why?
Well, I've done a live thing once, and
once you did a live thing once.
No, I've done shows like music shows and playing music and all that, and that's what it is. I mean, but filming and broadcasting at the same time, that's I'd like to try it with a podcast, but I need someone taking care of the the technical aspect of it.
Is that the side of it? Is that you're so focused on it being technically precise?
Because it'd be fun right now if I had comments popping up on the screen and we'd be looking and then someone would ask a question and then we would interact and then people would just send off the feed in Facebook or whatever it is and we could interact with that.
I did a Facebook Live last night.
You did?
I did.
Lucky you.
Yes, I did.
What?
I was walking along the Lachine Canal and I was doing the Relay for Life. It's the walk for the Cancer Research Association.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your implication? What was the...
I signed up, I got donations, and normally the Relay for Life, like it usually obviously happens with a lot of people, and it's a 24-hour walkathon for cancer. And you can sign up as an individual or you can sign up in a team and you raise money and you do this walking and yeah. So
you were broadcasting while you were walking and just showing where you were? Or?
Yeah, I just kind of
cool.
said, hi, I'm doing this walkathon. And I sort of was hoping that I might get some more people to donate while I was doing it. But it was also just to sort of say, hey, this is why I'm doing it. And, this is who I'm walking for. And yeah.
Well, there's a hope for like a genuine human connection. I think that's what we're missing in a lot of mediums.
But I cried.
You did?
Yeah, I got teary.
Well, it's a beautiful cause. And
it
for
is.
you, it's a cause that connects strongly.
Yeah. But I mean, a year ago or 2 years ago, I can't remember. Yeah, it was when I was sort of advertising for How to Kill Your Baby. I did a couple of Facebook Lives and I was terrified at the time. Like I was really, really nervous because you can see yourself.
Yeah.
And it's live and you're talking and people are watching and, I'm a lot more relaxed about it now because I've been doing so many Zooms over the last year. Like, I've kind of gotten used to it. But
yeah, you're conditioned now.
I push hide self-view on all of my Zoom calls now.
Really?
Yes.
You want at least to have a little bit of privacy for some Zoom calls?
No, they can see me. I can't see myself.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, because I do find like people are looking at themselves the whole time.
Man, that's the thing. The Instagram generation, they're always looking at themselves.
Yes.
You can see that they're not looking at the camera, and that's a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
You need to look at the camera.
Yeah.
I used to do those when I had a band like 2006, I think it was, or maybe a little bit later, but I would do shows, but then I would have like film myself playing guitar, and there's maybe one or two of those that I kept and I put on YouTube. But like playing about a dozen songs, and I had a couple of people watching. So, yeah.
And live?
Yeah, it was live, but it wasn't. There wasn't Zoom. There wasn't. I think it was before Skype.
You've done a few live ones, didn't you? Do one?
Oh, on Instagram,
your music stand fell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah, recently. Yeah.
And I have to tell you,
but you don't
that
see
was
me.
more interesting
Okay.
than if it had been a perfectly, performed song. It was really sweet to like
but that
hear
was
you laughing and yeah.
But that was improv, though. I was, and you couldn't see me. I should have maybe filmed myself. I just thought it was a little bit narcissistic, but I just can't remember what I was filming. I was filming the
sun
wood floor.
On the floor.
Yeah, the sun on the floor. Yeah, and then the stand fell. Yeah. Well, yeah, and it was a live thing for like maybe half an hour. Just me strumming guitar.
But people want to see the real stuff. They do. They want to see that real stuff. I remember I was in theater school in Toronto, and I met my friend Phil Morris, he's a musician, and at the time he was studying jazz vocals, and I was in theater, and I remember he was having a really hard time because they were asking him to do performances. He's a pianist and a guitarist and a drummer. So all of those things are always there between him and the audience, right? Like that's kind of like what were you saying that you have your sunglasses?
I had my sunglasses the whole time. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So that was his sort of like costume, right? And they were suddenly asking him to just stand on stage with a microphone and nothing else. And he had I think there's like a whole movement, like, what do I do with my hands?
Yeah.
You know? He was suddenly like, I don't know what to do with my body. I don't know how to, and he wasn't reaching the audience because suddenly he had this sort of self-conscious wall. And so we did an exchange. He gave me some vocal lessons and I gave him some presence lessons.
Is that the Chekhov thing you were saying before?
No, I think this was at the very beginning of my sort of theater schooling. So it was, I don't know, for me
Well,
it
at
was...
least the basics, at least. That
For
you were
me,
giving
it was more, it was more being able to like be centered and then to connect to. And it was interesting because we would like do these exercises of where he would sing and I would show him exactly where his voice stopped in the room. And like it was pretty accurate. And then we would continue and continue because he was stopping his voice at some point, because of his discomfort in his body. So we started working on just like, letting that go.
Projecting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like me.
Connecting.
Yeah. Well,
I think you can project if you connect. If your intention is to connect with your audience, then your voice will project.
If you want to connect, you need to project because his voice was limited at a certain distance.
No,
so
if
he
you want to project, you need to have the intention to connect.
Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, being introverted, I can understand that. You need to project your voice. You need to have the intention of projecting it.
But that's the thing. Lots of people are like, "Oh, technique," but it's intention.
That's
do you want to reach your audience? And if you want to reach your audience, then what are you willing to do to reach your audience? How much of your like self-consciousness or your ego are you willing to let go of in order to make that connection? So that's what I was teaching.
That's good. And that was a good exchange. Did you use the vocals? Did it help with your vocal? No.
No.
Yeah. Well, that's
why. But he still
I...
teaches me guitar and I still
good.
work with him a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. My voice, I have a thing with my voice. There's something.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, you can't have all the talents. Being in front of the camera, that's for sure a mirror, and it helps it's like the ballet dancer we were talking about earlier, but I mean, it's practicing the look in front of the camera, and I think probably the Zoom projects, it's building up towards something bigger or...
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, again, I'm not comfortable in front of the camera. Like, I find it really interesting because you are really comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah, I like the camera. I don't know why.
I'm really not. That's why I'm really glad, like, you're...
I'm not showing it at the same time.
That's right.
I've been looking at myself, though, this whole time. Right there, the screen. I just want to make sure everything's going fine over there. But
how you doing over there, Eric? Eric, too. Eric in the monitor.
My thing is keeping a smile. Sometimes I get so serious and my eyebrows push down on my eyes and then my smile disappears and I forget to smile.
Yeah.
It's really tough for me for some reason. When I think, I get angry when I think.
You get angry when you think.
Well, no.
You get an angry look.
I get an angry look when I think.
What is that, like resting bitch face or thinking angry face?
It's my resting bitch face. I think it's an energy preservation or you're expending energy when you're smiling. You got to work those muscles, and it's just I'm conserving energy.
That's quite possible because you're introverted.
Yeah,
so you need to keep that energy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whereas I get it from being extroverted. Like I get more
from
energy from smiling and interacting with people. Like I'll still get tired and need my time to myself, but for the most part, like that's what re-energizes me is to be with, to interact with people.
Well, maybe that was the drive then during the COVID area, the epoch of the COVID.
Yes.
That was
that was tough. That was really tough.
Yeah. I almost went crazy in March. Almost lost my mind.
Now, what does losing your mind look like?
It's forgetting to like exercise, forgetting to play guitar or draw. It's just like withdrawing and
Forgetting? Like, how do you forget something like that?
well, not forgetting, but I don't do it like because it requires energy. So it's like a conditioning. The conditioning itself was not present. Like I just didn't want to condition myself to do anything to practice my art, you know. I was
You
just
just
so
kinda
tired.
lost
I just
the
played
will.
Xbox. Yeah, played Xbox and worked and did nothing. March was tough.
Yeah.
I shouldn't complain. I mean, so many people had it so much tougher than me for doing the COVID thing, but
I'm amazed that you like survive out here though.
yeah.
Really? Because I mean, I love nature and I love to be on my own. But yeah, I'm a people person. But you have a nice little town that's close by.
But I don't see myself moving here. Yeah, well, I'm moving. I can't exactly. I don't know exactly when, but for sure, like December, my business will have enough momentum, and I need to.
But you
I
want to
need to
stay in
move.
this area, like Rawdon kind of area, right?
I need to. I need to move closer to my clients.
Yeah.
It's a problem. I can't. I need to be more accessible, and the podcasting itself, like it's something that I want to do more often. But a lot of the times, people are really interested in doing the podcasts, but
And
then
then
they're like,
yeah.
"Oh my God, you live there? That's a little bit
Yeah.
far." And but I don't see myself going back to like a metropolitan area, and I need to be close to Montreal, but I need to be a little bit off away. And I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think it's the clientele that's gonna decide. I've met a lot of great people. I work with a lot of amazing people and organizations that have a virtuous, like, great values in the work they do. And I just need to get closer to those groups of people. I'm too far off here. It's a temporary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving the studio is going to be a bitch.
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh, it was crazy, the move. I hadn't planned it. Because usually you make a move, you move from one area to the other, to one place to the other, but you only have your living, clothes or whatever. Me, I had all my art gear, or should I say gear? I had all my studio equipment, music. Yeah, it was horrible. But yeah, was that your question? I have to move at some point. I don't know. I don't think I see. It is a nice village, but I don't see myself living here.
Yeah, it's a cute village. It's like a village that you'd like see in one of those movies, you know?
Yeah, it's a nice place, but it's. I need to get closer to the.
But I grew up in a place like this. So, like, I grew up in a small, like, I grew up in a village, a hamlet, actually. Hamlet.
Ontario, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. But my hamlet was called Leith.
Leith. Oh, that's a
Yes.
beautiful word.
Yeah. And it was right on the water, and we had a general store. You could go if you ran out of milk and didn't want to drive all the way into the main town. You could go to the general store. And
Well, as we grow older, we want that. We want a place of solace, like a place, like to be safe and just, relax. And I think I'm at that point. Definitely.
you're too young to be at that point.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God. No.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I want to move out of the city for sure. The city,
Yeah.
I can't handle it anymore. It's
Okay.
too much for me. I don't want to blame it on being introvert, but I like walking in Montreal at night.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Walking
Yeah.
like 10 kilometers and just like
That's what I
looking
did last night.
lucky.
8 kilometers. 8. Yeah.
I'll have to do that. Yeah, I miss that. I miss walking from, like, let's say Barrie, and then walking in all those tiny little streets and going all the way up to, like, I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
a decent walk, like a 10-kilometer walk. I used to do those in Montreal all the time. It's a
Yeah.
great place for that. Getting away from the crowds. Sometimes going on Saint Laurent or Saint Denis or whatever, but yeah.
I used to love that. Like, I lived in Toronto too in my early 20s, and I actually biked a lot. And that was fun because, you could get a lot further. And I just like to people watch. You know, I would ride my bike down Yonge Street on a Friday or Saturday night, and you know, down to the harbor and along the Queen's Quay, and yeah, there's something about it. It's funny. I'm a country girl, but I love the city. So yeah, I mean, I would love to have a home that was, you know, close enough to the city that I could get to it from time to time. But yeah,
maybe, I don't know. If I were to move back to the city, I would need like a crazy, I don't want to say like a condo or a place where I'm safe.
Studio.
Yeah, a studio.
Big studio.
Well,
open
for sure.
Down in Griffintown, you know, one of those like old factories that have been
I saw, there was
renovated
I had a one of my bands, the projects that I had was Hi John, and the bassist that I had around the last months of the project, Matt, he had an amazing place like that, like an old factory, and I can't remember if it was him that was had like connections in like building stuff and like a contractor or what. But he built an amazing condo. Like the living room was central to how it was all constructed inside. And so you would walk downstairs and it was like stairs all around the living area with the sofas. And then you would go up the stairs and you would have access to the rooms. And then there was another staircase that would go like a corridor that would bring you to a studio with drums and the mixing board and all that. That's amazing condo I've ever seen in my life. I've seen some crazy studios and condos and apartments. There was one, I can't remember which street it was on. It was those old Montreal houses, you know, 30s, 40s, whatever, and apartment buildings, the ones that are all close. Yeah. And the staircases are in front of the house.
Yes.
Yes. Apartments. And this apartment, I can't remember what the context was. It was a party or something. And we walked down those Montreal apartment corridors all the way to like the kitchen, the small kitchen. But then there was a cupboard kind of thing opening up, but it was a staircase. Ended up in this basement, and we're like, okay, there's a basement, and there was furniture there, whatever it was. But then there was another door, and we went in that door, and it kept going, and there was like a pool table, and then there was some other area with 2 fridges, I think it was, and then
it kept going.
But it went down. The staircase went down like for 2 flights of stairs.
Wow.
Into this underground. It was like 5 levels down.
Wow.
It was like an apartment building, but 5 levels down, and went into this underground basement, like kind of like anyways, the staircase
another dimension.
It was almost another dimension. I'd never seen that in an apartment before, and never again. And that's probably during the Prohibition. That's probably what it was. It was gangsters that built that. You know, hush hush. They made let's just make 2 levels and just block that last area. But then it's like 2 flights of stairs. The only thing is,
what do they call those now? Speakeasies.
It was probably, you think it was like a bar or a place where people would, maybe it was. I didn't think of that. I thought it was more like a storage area where they would put
the bodies, the dead bodies.
Maybe the dead bodies.
All the money and the dead bodies. And
I don't know what happened there, but I don't see.
Sounds like another story.
Well, yeah.
Another short film.
That was an amazing apartment. I don't know where it is, but it was like on one of those main arteries going north to the 40 in Montreal. But it was a crazy apartment.
I have a recurring dream about that, about having a house, and I've lived in it for years. And I suddenly discover a door that I didn't know was there before. And I open it up, and there's a whole other part of the house that I didn't know was there. And I'd been living there for like 10 years. It's like, why is there another room here? Like, where did this come from? And why didn't I know about it? And why wasn't I using it? And I've been in this cramped little space for years and, you know, collecting all these things, and I didn't know where to put them. And now there's this whole room. Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah, when I was a kid, there was, it was under the sink counter in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah?
And I think there was like the wall was there, but there was a little crack between the wood panels. And my brother and me, we noticed it, and we were trying to. We would look in that little crack, and we see a light coming from somewhere, and we could see. At some point, we realized like there was a light coming from, and there was grass, and then we were so young, we didn't understand that. Like obviously, it aimed directly at like the yard outside. And we thought it was another, we thought it was another universe or something, but it turned out it was
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, yeah.
Open up the wardrobe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great film. The guy that wrote that was a friend of Tolkien, right?
Another world?
No, I figured out what it was after.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Do you hate that when that happens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. Because the little crack would look into the room downstairs, obviously, and it went through the window of that door it was the boiler room. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so major deception. It wasn't another reality, but yeah.
Damn.
Sucks, eh?
Yeah.
Life is hard.
Growing up sucks.
Just brings you back to reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why we make art.
That's why we make art.
We want to go back to that time when we believed in magic and secret worlds and stuff like that.
Yeah, I want to put positive stuff out there. I think that's my vocation. I want to help people. I want to, through my work. That's why in the past I had trouble with the jobs I had where I was just not doing things that were conducive or didn't respect my values, or I wanted to help people. So whatever I do now is, and I think what you're doing, is that a driving force for
sure.
There needs to be a message at the.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You got to get involved through your art there.
Exactly. No, I'm definitely, I think from the beginning, but I'm definitely realizing it more and more now that like the art that I want to do is activist, based. And yeah, it's funny because on the way here, I was thinking about the two sort of theater minds. There's Augusto Boal. He was the father of the theater of the oppressed. He did a lot of like social activism type theater, really impactful stuff. And then there was Antonin Artaud, which is, he was the one who wrote Spurt of Blood, which I was in a production. I know. It's quite the...
Is there blood in the title? I'm in.
Yes. Especially if it's a spurt.
Yeah, the spurt. There must be a spurting of the blood. Is there spurting?
But so... It's a strange title. But anyway, he was the father of the theater of cruelty. And there's a real difference between the two. But they both kind of come out of the same idea that, life is shit and we should... Antonin Artaud says life is shit and we should embrace it and really push it in people's face that this is how life is terrible and dark. And then there's Augusto Boal who's, using that as a way to change, for social change. But the two go hand in hand. And Antonin Artaud in Theater of Cruelty, that's what he would do. He would sort of develop these scenes and these kinds of theatrical elements that would put the audience in those very uncomfortable places.
And they need to get involved. They need to think about what they're not doing.
And he would really kind of draw off the senses, things were very loud, or he would use light, or he would use, like the spurt of blood. We had actual blood being spurted on people, not real blood, obviously, stage blood, but that experience of, suddenly having something in your face, or my character at one point, I would, sort of creep up behind people in the audience and just whisper in their ear, and it's what's going on? You're kind of recreating that horror house or, whatever that's called. And then Augusto Boal is different in the sense that he would show certain scenes of oppression and then ask the audience, who may or may not have been aware that they were an audience. Sometimes it was done in a social setting, so they didn't even know that the actors were actors. So they would be witnessing something, an event happening, and they wouldn't know. And so then they would be drawn into it and they would have to act. What did he call them? Spectactors. So, and it was a way of, like creating this sort of social awareness that this is what happens in these situations and how do we cope as a culture, as a society.
When was that? That was like the 60s or?
No, I mean,
Siri. What's his name?
Augusto Boal.
Hey Siri. Augusto Boal.
Augusto Boal was a Brazilian theatre practitioner, drama theorist, and political activist. He was the founder of Theatre of the Oppressed, a theatrical form originally used in radical left popular education movements. Boal served one term as a vereador in Rio de Janeiro from 1993 to 1997, where he developed legislative theatre.
Okay, so the 90s. Is that what you said, 97? Mm-hmm. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to put the Siri thing. Because it makes sense. I don't have to have someone doing the research. I don't have to go online where it doesn't break the mood, Because that's what I had the trouble in the past podcasts is I had to stop and then look and I can't find the information. I just have to ask Siri.
There you go.
But is Apple
it's your new special friend.
Yeah. And I don't have to. Yeah, there is some kind of interaction where she gives her information and it rekindles the conversation.
She even tells jokes.
She tells jokes. Oh, yeah. I don't.
She lets you know if something's like inappropriate too.
There might be a copyright though with the jokes. I don't think we could use them.
No.
I was going to say something.
My 11-year-old son is quite intimate with Siri.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'd like her to be a little bit more elaborate and kind of like the movie with Joaquin Phoenix. There's her there where there's artificial intelligence and he's interacting with her. And every time he talks with the artificial intelligence, she grows and she gets more intellectually able.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's a great film. Is that what your son's doing? Is he tweaking Siri?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's
He's educating Siri.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Because that's what should happen.
I don't know what kind of education she's going to end up with.
Like a controlled AI where it's not going to go out of control and conquer the planet there.
Yeah.
But everybody that exchanging with Siri, every time she has a question or interactions, she can learn the dialect or the language. Mm-hmm. So she's more able to interact. That'd be crazy. It is going to happen, I think, probably. I'm getting hungry.
Me too. I think we've been talking for over 2 hours.
We can do this like a recurrent thing where you can come back and we can record some more.
Aww. You want to talk to me again?
For sure. No, we have stimulating conversations and you have great ideas and great projects and I was looking forward to it.
Cool.
For me, it's good networking and it's enriching to discuss certain things and talk with people like you that are like, stimulating my brain. So, yeah. So
that's fun. It's fun to talk.
How can people reach you on social media?
Yes.
Can you give me that information?
I can give you that information. Okay. You want me to say it or do you want to say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
If there's a website or a social media.
I don't have a website as of yet. It's in the works. But I am on Instagram as Erin.Farmer.Perrine or Quagmire.Productions. And I have a Facebook page, which is Erin Farmer-Perrine Artist, I believe, or...
So it's Erin Farmer dash...
Perrine.
Slash
performance artist.
Okay, perfect.
Slasher.
Oh, because of... No. Okay, but that could be a cool angle, though.
It is an angle. It's a slash.
Oh, it is. Yeah. You're being witty now. Yes. All right. Humor is essential. Oh, okay. So Facebook, Instagram, and is there an upcoming event? Is there what's in the works?
I'm working right now on. I'm working as a live stream technician for a production called Theater: A Love Story, and it will be featured in the Women's Theater Festival Fringe this summer. It's beginning of July. And it's a really interesting project because we're all learning, basically. The theater piece itself is divided into about 5 different shows. And It's one show, but you'll go to 5 different events to see it. So it's almost like, theater when you're, going on an adventure and they're taking you through. So it's like site-specific type of theater. So you'll go to the first link and it will give you the opening scene, and then they'll give you an address to the next link. And so it's interesting. My part, I'll be in charge of basically running that whole show. So even though it's not a whole show, it will be run like a whole show. And it's all on Zoom and using OBS.
Nice.
What else? Yeah, hopefully we'll be submitting Poe in the Snow, which was the show I did in the winter for the Festival Bête Noire. We're going to submit it to a Edgar Allan Poe festival, which is in the fall.
So are you going to redo the whole thing live?
No.
Oh, okay.
It will be pre-recorded as it is.
Okay.
But it's a good piece, and it's Edgar Allan Poe, and it's what I love about it is that it got its own flavors. There's 4 different pieces. There's the Raven, which I was in charge of. There's the Curfew. Curfew was the title, which Eric Raisin and his wife Kathy Slayman filmed at 5:00 in the morning in Trenholm Park in Montreal in a snowy setting. And then Actors Reading Poe, which was a collection of Edgar Allan Poe poetry, but done in all kinds of different styles and really interesting interpretations. And then the last one was a dance fusion theater artist from New York City, Calixta Starr, and she did the Mask of the Red Death, which was, a theater dance interpretation of that poem. So it's an interesting piece.
So that's going to be shown again at the.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be accepted into that. But it did show during the Festival Bête Noire, 2021, and that's the interesting thing about having something filmed is we could submit it again and it can be seen again. Whereas, live theater, when it's done. You have to do a whole new production if you want to do it again.
Good luck with the projects.
Thank you.
And you come back whenever you want.
Thank you.
Let's wait a couple of episodes, but obviously you're always welcome.
Okay.
Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.